evening, everybody. This is your host, Huge Pop from the Huge Pop Entertainment. With me tonight, I got Bill, but our special guest tonight. He's a retired American professional wrestler. He's best known for his time in ECW in the 1990s. He is a former and the youngest ever ECW television champion. Welcome to the Drop Zone, Glen Osbourne. Glad to have you, my friend.
Hey guys, thank you very much. It's great to be here.
Thank you for coming on. I appreciate
Sure
taking the
thing.
time out of your time. Bill, I thank you for setting this up. Thank you for being part of the Huge Pop Entertainment. Man, you're an amazing co-host, man. It just amazes me, bro, how you get these figures out, and we'll get to that a little bit later on the show. So, as our guest, Mr. Osbourne, I asked this question. It's probably the dumbest question I ever asked in my life, but I ask everybody because I'm curious. What was growing up as a fan like? I know you're into business, but as a fan, what was that like?
Oh boy, growing up as a fan, it was everything. It was something. It was started off as a pastime and just something I was very interested in. From the time I was 7 years old, I caught wrestling on TV, and um, I was amazed by it. And I got more and more into it the older I got. And growing up as a fan, yeah, it's everything. You're always waiting for the next weekend for the next TV shows, and any chance I had growing up in Philly, the Philly area we had the Spectrum in Philly and the Civic Center, and the NWA would run at the Civic Center and WWF would run at the Spectrum. So anytime I had a chance, unlike today with the prices being what they are, even before I was able to drive, I would go buy a wrestling ticket and just go myself. I'd go with friends if I could, but a lot of times I just went myself. I'd jump on the train, I'd go into town, and I'd go to one of those two arenas and I'd watch. Every year the Great American Bash was a standing date on my calendar. But just anytime there was a good card or any card, that came through Philly, and if I had nothing to do, chances are I'd probably be down there watching it. And as fans yourself, it's everything. I got so wrapped up in it, from such a young age. So it's very addictive.
Was there a superstar that you couldn't wait to see?
When I started watching, the first guys I remember were like Bob Backlund and Roddy Piper and Sergeant Slaughter. And I was lucky because being in the Philly area, we got all different territories, from WWF to AWA, World Class, NWA, UWF. We got a ton in our area. We got some Georgia and Florida sometimes, stuff from California. So I was always on the lookout for if there was a ring, and a crowd and wrestlers, I was there. I was like into whatever was going on. I just loved it, so much. So it was more of there were certain guys that I really was into and that were like heroes, but it was almost like the whole world of wrestling as a whole was the draw. I loved Hogan as a kid, as so many of us did, and Road Warriors and all those 80s icons, 70s and 80s icons are who I grew up on. So so
Appreciate that.
it was just, yeah, man, definitely.
Yeah, Bill.
So, how did you get your start in the wrestling business itself, becoming the wrestler?
Well, I started lifting weights when I was a young 14 years old at school. And I had a gym teacher who was very encouraging and taught me a lot. And weightlifting was something I got really, really heavily into. I did some bodybuilding contests when I was, much younger, much, much younger. And, but I wanted to, when I started getting more confident in the gym and bigger and stronger, and my physique was improving, and by the time I hit about 17, I thought this might be something I might want to try, because I was so into it and I'd been working so hard in the gym. Joel Goodhart was running a show starting in the late 80s called Wrestling Radio on WIP, which is a station here in Philadelphia. And that show of his was hugely popular. And Joel started promoting his own shows. He was the radio host, but he made a lot of connections in the business. I'm skipping over a lot, but he started running the Tri-State Wrestling Alliance, the TWA, which was the immediate precursor to ECW. So the idea was they would bring in all the big names, but they wanted to have a really good roster of homegrown talent that they could use. We would work with each other, but also could work with the big name guys when they came in. So they were meticulous in training us. Anyway, so I found out about the school via the radio show that Joel had.
Okay.
I had previously tried out at the Monster Factory, and I had passed. Um, Philly legend Johnny Hopbody ran the tryouts, and actually the Godfather was there that night at the Monster Factory. He was completing his training, so it's one of the first big name guys I got to meet. And I was a kid; I was like 18 years old, and he was, you know, I don't know if you saw pictures of him from younger in his career. He was enormous. He kind of thinned out his Godfather, but he was like 6'6" or 4 feet wide, and he was cool and stuff. But then anyway, I couldn't attend the Monster Factory because of school, but I wound up going to Joel's school and passed my tryout and went on to be trained there under Larry Winters. Originally, it was Larry Winters and Ron Shaw, who you may remember wrestled David Sammartino in the famous Phantom Submission match. Do you remember that?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
got him with the bear hug. Yeah.
Yes.
Mhm.
So
Yes. Oh
Ron
my
Shaw,
God.
yeah, he was one of my very original trainers, but he dropped
Really?
off after a few months, I think. But Larry Winters was really my trainer, and but then and you have your trainer. Joel got us started in the Tri-State Wrestling Alliance, and that was almost like kind of like the last territory, I think, in a way, because Joel ran a lot. He ran 4 supercards a year at the Philadelphia Civic Center, which I think a lot of them are available on YouTube. But then he also ran shows during the week. He ran shows on the weekend all over the place, high schools and community halls and anything, So we were getting a lot of good experience, from a young age. But I guess more to the point to your question, but that was the transition right around 17 years old and looking at myself and thinking I could at least try it. I thought if I ever even had one professional match, I could say I did it. And like that would be that would be cool. I never expected to be doing it for, 2+ decades.
Wow.
So
That's yeah.
yeah.
I love listening to you guys talk about the back in that era because it is completely different than it is now.
Mhm.
I
Oh
hear
my
story.
God.
I hear
Yeah.
stories about you guys training in garages and gyms that had no AC, nothing,
Yeah.
100 degrees, and these
It's
guys.
all true.
No disrespect to the newer guys. They're in
Right.
the power wherever that place is in Orlando. The
Oh
oh
yeah, yeah. The
Yeah.
performance center.
performance center.
Yes.
Yeah,
I bet you
yeah.
it's 65 degrees in there, whatever. And they don't know really. They don't know what you guys did and went through. I mean,
Yeah, it was different. And it's all true. Joel's school, it was called Ringmasters Wrestling School. That was the Tri-State school. Um, it was in the back of a big gym in Philly, and absolutely no air conditioning in the summer, no heat in the winter. There was the ring in the back of the gym with a curtain pulled across, and we were all, it was heavily, it wasn't mandatory, but it was very heavily impressed upon us to spend an hour in the gym at least before we trained in the ring that night. And we would train, 5 nights a week. And Larry Winters, who trained me, was very patient. He was the perfect trainer for me. He wasn't. We did all the drills you hear about over and over. Um, but he wasn't like a barking drill instructor. He would explain things, and if you had questions, he was very open. And, like in the summer, there were some times when I felt like I was going to throw up. So he wasn't like, just go throw up in the corner. He would take me by the hand, here, let's go to the bathroom. Now you can throw up, like that kind of thing. So, yeah, he was really cool like that. But those guys were meticulous in training us because how the Philly crowds are. And even back, when we were starting, late 80s and the early 90s, the Philly crowds were merciless and stuff had to look tight. It wasn't high spotty. It was more about making a fight look real, and that legitimacy and laying stuff in, and was very much impressed upon us. And kayfabe very, very much impressed upon us. Like, absolutely, that was mandatory. Larry was very, there was no black and white with that. It was just stay apart and stay. If we were doing promo stuff, one of my big rivals was Jimmy Jannetty, was his name, and wrestled for a long, long time all over the place. But we were teenagers, like 17, 18 when we started, and he was a face and I was a heel, and we were feuding. And we'd go to these places to do promos, and we'd want to hang out together. And like if we were at a fair or something, if Larry saw us anywhere near each other, it was like, nope, you get apart. It would be inconceivable to us to, like, now, like, oh, we really put on a great show and take selfies. Like, that was, oh my God, you'd have been blackballed and beaten and everything for that. I
can
always say
imagine.
the values that we were taught, coming up in my era, pretty much get pissed on an hourly basis nowadays. So I don't even know how much really translate over from what we did, like as far as just working in the ring. I don't think a lot of it's getting to the point where they're taught how to do, I digress, but they're taught how to do one thing. I think we were taught how to do something else.
Yeah.
I agree.
So we have we have a couple guys in the chat that want to ask a question, so I
Sure.
want to honor that.
Sure.
So this Dan Fenley, what's your favorite championship you've ever held and why?
Oh, thanks, Dan. The most well-known one, obviously, would be the ECW TV title. So I that always comes out, but my home base, I mean, I work for so many places, but the ECWA was my home base for many years. So winning that title, winning their singles titles, I held the heavyweight title there and the Mid-Atlantic title. So those both meant a lot to me. So I would say those two in the ECW and the ECW TV title. But anytime you're given that trust, to run with a belt, it's always an honor. At least that's how I look at it anyway.
Mm-hmm.
I've always looked at it like that. It's not a lot of in our sort of jaded, the way we become, there's this belts are just a prop kind of thing. That can be true sometimes, but also a lot of the time, if you're booked for a title run, it's because you either can, you're the best worker, or you can, draw fans or whatever it is. So most of the time there is a reason, and it is a privilege to be chosen, to hold a title. So that's being diplomatic, but I would have to say those were the ones that probably meant the most.
I'm going to piggyback off what you said. Okay. Mm-hmm. So we just got done with the World Series, and the Dodgers won, and all the crowd, the players, they were so excited. They're popping champagne corks and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Super Bowl champions. They win that. I don't want to break kayfabe or anything like that. Is it that exciting for you guys when you get the nod to saying, "Yep, you're winning that belt"? Is it that exciting for you guys?
I mean, I guess everyone's different. I mean, I guess some guys get excited depending where you are because they're more in it for the money. And then other guys, famously, like guys like a Bret Hart, holding the title really means a lot to them, So I guess everyone's different. I was really excited because of my youth too, when, for the TV title, the ECW TV title, because the promotion was growing the way it was. They got the TV deal with Sports Channel, and to to have that title at that young of an age, Todd really did me a solid with that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
All right.
giving me that ball to run with, being that age and everything, and wrestling the Superflies and those guys, was pretty cool.
Okay.
So
All right. Thanks, Bill.
Piggyback off of that. Where'd you win your first ECW title? Who did you take it off of?
ECW, the
TV
TV title.
Yep.
It was there were 2 battle royals, and the winner of those were going to meet for the vacant television title. Johnny Hotbody had it before us, but he had blown his knee out, and so they had a vacancy for the TV title. So they had 1 battle royal that Sandman won, and 1 that I won, and then we met for the TV title, and then I beat Sandman for the TV title at that point. But I think the first one was Johnny Hotbody, and then he blew out his. Yes, I believe that's what it was.
I think.
And then they had the battle royal thing, and then that match. Yeah.
Wow, Sandman. That
Sandman.
dang. I mean, I could just. I don't know, man. That's incredible. That's crazy. Can you talk about any memories you have with? I would say probably one of the icons of ECW.
Sure.
Sandman. Can you talk about any memories you have that you had in the ring with him or anything like that?
Sure. He was a little on the older side, whereas like myself was on the young. I was one of the real youngest. Me and Jimmy Jannetty were the 2 kids. But Sandman was 27 when he started, so he was a good bit older than us, and he was like just loud and outgoing and the whole thing right from the beginning. But he always treated me really cool. He was, I always thought, a really stand-up guy, a really cool guy. I guess when you train with somebody though too, you have a different, because we all went to the school together. They were like a couple months ahead of me, but like JT Smith, Sandman, myself, Jannetty, a lot of the legends of Philly, like Tony Stetson, Johnny Hotbody, those guys would come through. And Joel would also bring big names that he would book for his shows, like Paul Orndorff, Buddy Landell. He had them come up to the school before what we know as seminars now, where guys come in and get paid and everything. Joel would bring them up to the school, and they would teach us to get in the ring. I mean, you couldn't ask for a better, way to learn, than that. So, absolutely. But so well, I guess I should have left a trail of breadcrumbs down that. What was the question? Too many shots to the head, chair shots to the head.
Any great memories with Sandman?
Sandman, correct. Really great guy. Very good in the ring. I was telling Bill yesterday about how he got known for swinging the cane and spitting the beer and doing all that crazy stuff, but he was a really good worker. When he was in his younger years, when he had some classics with JT Smith, and we all could work together really well, all the tri-state guys. So, but he was great. And Lori, his wife, who Peaches, she was sweet. I mean, really great. I don't have anything bad to say about Sandman. Other than I'm not a partier or anything like that, so that wasn't my scene. But he was really cool, and he was one guy I regretted for just the way the day went. I didn't get to hook up with him at the con, in May, but I'll be doing more of that kind of stuff, so I'm sure I'll catch up with him at some point. Great guy, though.
Yeah, Bill.
Yeah,
I agree on the Sandman. I met him a few years back in Queens. Great guy.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about the early years. Did you have a double, like a wrestling gig and then a side job, like a lot of the wrestlers did back then with the promotions?
I did early on because I was still in school for a lot of my early years. I was in college When I started, actually, I was going, I was in art school briefly, and that's when I started. That's when I tried out at the Monster Factory, and that was in '89. And then I art school didn't work out, so I went to college, university, and I wrestled through my entire college, and wrestling really helped with bills,
Mhm.
But I did before I was in college and I was learning. I had a job in landscaping, breathe, and then, but mostly I did other jobs like bouncing. Landscaping is way, way back. That's when I was training. But yeah, while I wrestled, I did a bouncing gig for a while, and then I wound up doing and then for 30 years, I've been doing training, like athletic training, personal training, all that kind of stuff. So over the years, like when wrestling was banging, I could just wrestle full time, and then when wrestling slowed down, I could start training some clients again. Um, I was bouncing and wrestling in the early 90s. So that was a cool gig. On nights I didn't wrestle, I'd bounce. So yeah, that kind of stuff. A lot of us over the years would supplement here or there when needed, but it was always in those kind of fields. It was either like training people to work out or bouncing or that kind of stuff. Kind of adjacent fields, to wrestling. So, but yeah, it was cool, going to college and wrestling at the same time.
It must have been hard to like juggle all that, your job, college, wrestling.
Well, by the time I was in college, I was just wrestling by that point full time because everything was really rolling in the 90s at that point. So that helped that I didn't have to have, at that point, I could just wrestle and go to school. So that was cool. And it's funny because my professors were really supportive of it and they would let me reschedule things if I had to, like reschedule projects or exams because I'd be going on the road. I'd just come to them with it ahead of time, and they were always, "Oh yeah, go ahead, you got to work. That's so cool, And I'd go do that, and then I could come back and take the test or whatever. So they were very accommodating. I went to Westchester University, which is
Yeah,
right outside of Philadelphia. So
English major, right?
yes, correct. So yeah, good call on that one.
Hey,
And Billy, you're in PA, right?
No, no, I'm in New Hampshire.
You're in New Hampshire. Why do I keep thinking you're in Pennsylvania? Yes, you're in New Hampshire. That's right. Same time zone.
have
Mhm.
Yeah,
another
so
question from the chat, if you don't mind.
sure. Yep.
First off, Grossy Bears, please hit the follow button, the like button on that YouTube channel. Allow us to grow the YouTube channel and get more guests like our guest on the show right now. So, her question is: was there anyone in ECW didn't get to wrestle but wanted to?
Oh, that's a great question. Um, there were guys I would have liked to have wrestled when it switched over. I was like right when it switched to Extreme was right around when I left. So there were certain guys that I would have liked to. There were guys that I did wrestle from Extreme during that time too. They were working independents too, like Axel Rotten and um, God, there were so many guys that I was fortunate enough to work. I'm trying to think. There's got to be somebody in there. I'll have to come back to that. I did get to wrestle most people at that point. Um, wow, that's an excellent question. I may have to put a pin in that and come back to it if that's cool.
Yeah,
Get some names
Mhm.
knock around in my head a little bit. There's got to be somebody.
get another chair
Um,
shot.
yeah, sheesh. I mean, during my era, I would say I got to wrestle pretty much everybody. If it wasn't on TV, it was on a house show somewhere. I would have liked to have had one good, solid singles match with Terry Funk, I would say.
Wow.
Um,
Yes.
during that time, I've had run-ins with him over the years, like literally like run-ins on his matches when we've brawled and stuff.
Yeah.
And I've been on many, many shows with him over the years, but we never had um, a proper one-on-one match. So I'll say Terry Funk,
Terry Funk. Terry Funk.
the legend himself.
Yes. So
That would have been
EC
an honor.
that would have
You
been.
know,
That would be. Oh my
I,
God.
I was cool to meet him so many times um and do, like I said, like brawls and things like that, pull aparts and stuff, but we never got to do a match. So
Thank you, Grossy Bears, for that question. That's a great
yeah,
question.
thank you. That's a great one.
So appreciate you guys coming in the comment section. That's awesome.
Sure. Yeah.
So
Thank you.
ECW is known for hardcore, stuff like that. What you've been in other promotions locker rooms, so what's the biggest difference that you've seen from the ECW locker room to the other promotions that you wrestle with?
Oh, wow. I would say ECW in those days, in my era there, I feel like was much more team oriented. Not that it wasn't later, it was very team oriented, but I was there before it started getting kind of the darker, seedier side. At least if it was there, I wasn't seeing it. It wasn't prevalent because I know from what I'd heard down, as things took off down the line by, 96, 97, 98, when it was really, hot, that there was a lot of drugs and a lot of, uh, kind of, shady stuff that went on. That wasn't the case, at least when I was there during my era. It was more, I felt like we had that attitude, like we're trying to do something different, but it seemed, I don't know, it seemed a lot cleaner to me. It was more, the booking had changed from Tri-State, which was more of a darker, grittier kind of feel, to early ECW TV, which was kind of cartoonier. I think I was talking with Bill about that the other day. It was kind of booked more like, not Memphis, but more like WCW in the early 90s, like with characters. And it was kind of, it got like oddly a little more family friendly or something. It got a little more civilized for that period. So yeah, none of that crazy stuff. I mean, there was still some of the hardcore stuff, but it wasn't there yet. It wasn't quite to that. It was still Eastern Championship Wrestling, and I just hadn't gone down that dark rabbit hole quite yet. That came later.
So were you there before Mike Watts took over? Was it Mike Watts or Eric Watts?
In ECW?
Yeah, wasn't Eric Watts part of that ECW?
No, when I was there, Eddie Gilbert was booking.
Okay, Eddie Gilbert.
Larry Winters was the first booker, then Eddie Gilbert was booking, and then Paulie started. And I was the one that Paulie made his ECW debut on when he ran down the aisle. I gave Eddie Gilbert a tombstone pile driver and covered him, and Paulie raced down the aisle and smashed me the F over the head with that thing. But that was the start. I mean, that was like, the ECW Paulie thing kind of grew from there. And then Paulie started helping Eddie with the booking, as far as I know. And then Eddie was out, and then Paulie just took over from there. So
my mistake. It was Bill Watts was in 2000, ECW 2000. So that was probably after.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was
way after.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, that was way after my time.
So, Bill.
All right. So we talked about names you did get to wrestle. You've wrestled the legends. You've wrestled the rookies. Names like Neihart, Morocco, Bundy. Maybe some lesser known. You wrestled Test, Edge, and Christian before WWF TV. You want to talk about that? See, go off the independent groups.
Yeah, sure. Well, I started with Test. I'm sorry. I started with Edge. Excuse me, the ECWA and PCW, which was East Coast Wrestling Association, promoted by Jim Kettner, and Pennsylvania Championship Wrestling, promoted by Lane DeSantis. And they were, before there were so many real developmental areas, these were top independents where WWF would send their up and comers to get experience or get polished. And I was very fortunate to be, one of the guys that they could count on to do that kind of stuff. Edge, when we started, he was Sexton Hardcastle doing that gimmick, but then during our working together, he became Edge. So it was like right in that middle time. And then when he became Edge, I remember when on PCW shows, he started doing that thing where he's coming down through the crowd. Do you remember that way back?
Yeah.
That was how, they started having him do that with the trench coat. So he transitioned from Sexton Hardcastle to Edge while I was kind of working a program with him. Wow. So that was a cool transition to watch, and I wrestled Christian a lot too in that period. We had a lot of singles matches. We actually traded the ECWA heavyweight title,
Okay.
and I believe one of my matches with him is on YouTube.
Okay.
I'm almost positive.
Yeah.
And he
Yeah.
was again like Edge and Christian Cage were already like they were already signed and already getting ready to debut, and Edge was starting to debut already. Test was more raw at that time, so I wrestled him in the ECWA. They had us do a program against each other, and we had some really good matches too. They used to be on YouTube. I don't know if they got taken down or not, but
They are. They're
um,
still there.
are they still there? But he was
Yeah, I
raw,
was
but
watching a
my
couple of them
God, what
earlier.
a look. Yeah, he had what a look and everything, and just
All right.
and another one, a great guy. They were all such great guys. Like um every one of those guys were cool. I'm kind of boring in the way that have I've really liked pretty much everyone I've come in contact with in wrestling. I've really not had, again, very fortunately, I've not had um, a lot of bad experiences with people uh, for one reason or another. It's been mostly very positive, and I feel like I'm one of the lucky few that can say that.
Yeah.
But again, sorry, I lost track of the question. You have to remember, I'm very old, and I've been hit in the head a lot. So, um,
So
We're going off
yes,
of the
yeah. So Christian
independent group.
K. Oh, Test. That's right. Test was very nice, very open to learning, and just a really nice guy. And what a shame and that happened to him. I've never found Edge to be. There's a guy that never changed. When I would see him on the independents or when I'd go up for WWE work, um, same guy. From always took the time to talk, never got ahead on him. Like that was my experience with him. Christian was always more intense. He was a little quieter and a little more intense, but still a really cool guy. And when Christian was going to be making his pay-per-view debut against Taka Michinoku, I don't remember if it was pay-per-view or a Raw or something, and we were wrestling each other that. So he was going to be debuting. It was a Raw because he was going to be on Monday Night Raw against Taka Michinoku, and we were wrestling just that Saturday, the night before. And we must have hung out back of the arena for an hour, and he was talking to me about how nervous he was, and to take that big step up and everything like that. And I remember telling him, "Oh man, you're going to be great," and just kind of giving him a little pep talk and everything like that. So and then off he went, and the rest is history. Not because of anything I did, but I'm just saying because I just thought it was cool to have had that kind of chat with him right before he, went off and did his thing. So, and they're still doing it,
yeah.
So
So
Hmm.
God bless them.
what is your thoughts? You talking about Edge.
Hmm.
There's rumors that he might be John Cena's last match. What
Oh wow.
do you think that would be a good match? Do you think would be meaningful to the WWE community? What do you think about that would be?
I mean, why not? I'm not like real in tune with today's stuff so much, but
Right.
I would think the names that they are, and I'd heard a rumor about that, about him trying to get out of AEW to do that. So,
Yeah.
it would certainly draw a lot of interest, especially if that were to happen, if he were to be able to get out of his contract for a night to do that. But why not? They both seem to stay. I've seen John Cena more recently. He still looks to be in great shape, and I guess Edge is too. He looks,
Looks
like he's
solid.
beaten around a little, but yeah, he's still in shape. And what a lot of fans think is old and this and that, they still have gas in the tank. So
Yeah.
they're not
Hmm.
that old yet. At least I like to think that because we're all around the same, around the same theme music. So if
Yeah.
they're not that old, then I'm not that old. But we're all
I'm not
pretty
that old
old.
either. I
So
think I'm about you and I are about the same age, I think. So
okay, yeah. So
I'm not
it's
that
an
old.
odd age. We're like right in the middle. It's like there's a
Yeah,
part of
yeah.
you that's still mentally in college and then party, that's like, always, picking your ass up off the ground or something. So
have you ever received a fireball to the face?
yes.
Yes.
Actually, funny enough, one of my early in TWA, one of my original gimmicks was throwing fire. So I learned how to throw fireballs. But who threw? Oh yeah, I took one in the face once actually by my own hand by accident, and that was fun. And I looked like I had a horrible sunburn and singed my eyebrows off. That was fun. And then when I was in CZW, I had a match with Zandig that ended with Lobo throwing a fireball in my. He meant to throw it at Zandig. Had the thing where I had his arms hooked and
Yeah.
he ducks, and I took the fireball in the face. That was interesting. That's on YouTube somewhere.
Yep.
But that was the only time I took one, except for when I lit myself up. But that was the only time, only two
All right.
times.
All right.
So,
Hey, man, you guys did some crazy crap back in the day. So,
oh
well,
yeah, it was nuts, man.
I bet.
We all have diagnosable mental illnesses.
So, what
I
are some
think.
of your favorite matches? Yeah.
Wow, I'd have to say wrestling Mankind when he was at the top. When he was at the top, was really cool. He was doing it was when Mankind was really, really hot. And this was like probably 97 or 98. And wrestling him in the main event was awesome. They even did a whole article on I forget if it was PWI or like the Wrestler or one of those. It was in that family of magazines. They did a whole article on it with picture spread and everything. That was one of my favorites. I had a match in 2001 against a guy named Ty Street, who you may not have heard of, but we had been running a program, and it ended in a really spectacular cage match, which was the only match I had ever, I think, done where the crowd gave us a standing ovation. I've had a couple times where I've come back through the back and gotten one from the locker room, which was, unbelievable. But that was the only match I can remember with the fan when we had that cage match where the fans gave us a standing O,
That's
which
awesome.
was like unbelievable. That I don't know. That's in a private collection somewhere. I don't know if that's out there floating around anywhere. But so that one will always stand out. There was a match in 1994 where I was wrestling Derek Domino in a cage, and it was the one and only time I ever jumped off the top of a steel cage. And it was one of the high ones. It was like an old WWF cage, and I'll never do that again. I almost knocked myself out, but I decided, all my wisdom and my 23-year-old wisdom to climb up on the top. I had no real plan. I was just going to go up there because I thought it was cool. And once I stood all the way up there on the top, and I was like, holy, now I got to come down. So I did a diving, headbutt, which and almost killed myself. But it came off all right. There's pictures of me flying. I have one somewhere that someone took of me, soaring in midair. But yeah, that was interesting. There's
Yeah.
so many. There's so many. I could sit here all night. Anytime you get to wrestle, anytime you wrestle like a big name is exciting. Oh yeah, one of my favorites was I was actually in a main event against Tito Santana. It was 1994. He had just come out of the WWF, and it was the night of the O.J. Simpson White Bronco chase when that was happening.
Okay.
I think it was a Friday. So we're at the show, and we're all in the back in the dressing room. We all have that on in the radio. Back then, there were no cell phones to watch or anything. So we're all listening to the White Bronco chase in the dressing room, and everyone's, getting up and go doing their match, come back and listening again. And Tito said to me that night, I was always taught defer to the veterans. And I said to him, what would you like to do tonight? And he said, I'll tell you what, why don't you call it tonight? And, if something doesn't sound right, I'll step in, but why don't you do it? And I was floored. And that match will always be very special to me too. And Tito will too, because I saw him on tons of independent shows over the years, and just another one, just a superior guy. Great, 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 great guy. So that one, again, I could bore you with these all night, but that was another great one that I really have fond memories of. And then guys that work a lot of programs with, guys like Derek Domino or Harley Lewis, and name these Philly guys, Tony Stetson and, Jimmy Jannetty and all these guys, DC Drake, whenever those guys that it comes so naturally, you just reach out, you lock up, and you're just there with each other, so
Right.
that's cool too.
Right.
And it's always WrestleMania for me. Like anytime, it doesn't matter if it's like thousands of people or a couple hundred. You're just always out there. It's like, you want to go out there and give your best.
So there was an incident where Paul Heyman made his first ECW appearance by smashing a portable phone over top of your head.
Yes.
What are some of your favorite memories working with Paul Heyman? Probably one of the he's a GOAT in my book, one of the GOATs of wrestling. Guy's phenomenal. But what was some of your
He was cool. I mean, when he first came into ECW, like that night when he smashed me over the head, as soon as we got back in the back, he came over to me and he like grabbed my face. He was like, "Are you okay? Are you all right?" Because he knew he really bombed me with it. And I don't care. Like, that's what it's just part of it. It's going to happen. You're in the wrong business if you're not. I said I'm fine. And I heard him talking to somebody off to the side. He's like, "Man, you got to lay in. These are big bad motherfuckers. You got to hit them." So I was like, "Oh yeah, okay." So I had no problems with him until. It wasn't even problems. I just got the usual Paulie runaround. You've probably heard. Like, I tried to go back to ECW in '94, and he was like, "Okay, give me a call," and everything. So I would call him, and at first we talk a little, and then it got a little less, and then he was doing the thing, and you may have heard this where, well, Paul's not here right now. Have you heard all that kind of stuff? Where, yeah, I got that, like so many other people. No, Paul's not here right now, and well, I'll take a message and everything. And at least in the beginning, he put on like a voice, but then one time, finally, he just answers, and it's clearly him. I'm like, "Hey, Paul, it's Glenn," and he's like, "Well, Paul's not here right now." I'm like, "Paul, come on," or whatever, and he said something. "I'll call you back." I was like, "Okay, whatever." Click, and then that was it. So, but he had his own thing he wanted to do. I get it. It sucked, and it was it was a bitter pill to swallow, sort of seeing it go, take off to, what it wound up becoming. But, he had his own vision. He wanted to bring those New York guys down, and, he didn't have time. I was so young then too. Like, what I always said is he wasn't obligated to raise kids. He had a vision of what he wanted to do. So I don't take that as a bad thing. If he didn't see me as a part of that, it was fine. It let me go out and do my own thing on the independents, right, wrong, or indifferent. But I think things kind of played out the way they were supposed to.
Okay.
But it was cool, man. Yeah.
Going off the Paul E incident, Eddie Gilbert, you tombstoned him that night. Did you have any issues with him?
With Eddie?
Yeah, with Eddie.
With Eddie. Yeah, like I said, we got along real well in the beginning, and then somewhere along the line, like he was giving me a good push in the beginning, and then somewhere along the line, he just changed his mind on me. I've said on other podcasts too that he had a change of heart. I never really got to the bottom of what that was. I have some indication, but I'm not entirely sure. But yeah, and that's when all of a sudden he started, booking me down the card on TV. And my last match in ECW, he just whacked me in the back with a cane and pinned me, and I'm like, "Fuck this!" Like, I have all due respect and everything, but you also, when you work hard to try to get somewhere, and you're still young like that, it's just, you got to make that decision. So yeah, I mean, ultimately, I felt kind of bad about that whole thing with Eddie, because we did get along really well, and I think ultimately he's a good guy. He was just really gripped up in paranoia, and I think drug problems there by the end, and The ironic thing is he passed away, and then I wrestled on the very first Eddie Gilbert Memorial Brawl that the NWA held. So that was kind of sadly ironic, you know. So,
Yeah.
but yeah. So what didn't end great with him? Eddie was one of the only ones that I had a little bit of heat with, I would say, which is weird to say. I never put it like that before after all these years, but he had heat toward me. It was not the other way, or I didn't have anything against Eddie. I did. I
Right.
wish I knew more what had happened, but you know. So yeah, I guess it didn't end so great, but you know, I still my memories of him are mainly fond ones.
Awesome.
So
Awesome.
I learned a lot from him. I got to wrestle him a lot, and he had a great wrestling mind. So I definitely learned a lot from him.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So, friends of the show, this guy, he's TCW, you know, he ECW, etc. Chubby Dudley,
Oh my God, yeah,
a good friend of yours, I'm sure.
Love,
Is there
absolutely.
love that.
any stories that you could share with Chubby and you?
Oh man, yeah. Well, God, he trained at Joel's wrestling school also, um, and he was originally known as the Hell Rider, and the Hell Riders was a tag team with him and HD Rider, so he was Easy Rider, and then
Okay.
our friend Pat Kelly was HD Rider, and they wrestled as the Hell Riders, and Bay was just, I mean, a true brother from the beginning. We just got along famously right away. He's always been one of the nicest, most humble, down to earth guys you'd ever want to meet. Um, and just being real buds for a long, long time. And then when he got into the promoting end of he wrestled for the ECWA for a while as the Hell Rider. And then he started promoting his own group, Liberty All Star Wrestling, which was also in Philly. And he had his own um, he had a wrestling school called Liberty All Star Wrestling Academy where I trained guys like Nate Hatred from CZW, J.R. Ryder, Thomas Rodman from ECW, some other guys that went out, Cool Kid Ice guys that went out on the independents. Um, so and then Bay went on from there to ECW where he got the Chubby Dudley gimmick
Yeah.
and got some TV off of that and everything, and did some more promoting and stuff. And then the last thing, of course, that he was involved with was the big reunion, TWA Con in One and Done in May. But we
Yeah.
stay in touch a lot. He'd been having some health issues that he seems to have a handle on now. So thankfully, hopefully he'll keep up with that. But yeah, so I've known him for a long, long time and been through a lot of promotions with him and just friends. We're just going to be lifelong friends. I check in on him and we talk a good bit, and hopefully he'll be up here over the holidays at some point. So love to get together with him.
Awesome. So,
Mhm.
to piggyback off there, another question from the chat. I was going to ask this, but I'm glad he asked. Who in ECW do you think played the best pranks backstage? And is there any funny rib stories that you can share?
Oh, stupid stuff like who was it? Was it Tommy Cairo I don't know if it was him or Metal Maniac, put a bucket full of water on top of a door and like just kind of creak the door a little bit open so the bucket could, sit up there, and somebody was going to get stuck, and Sandman saw it and he's like, who the fuck put that? He's like, that bucket's going to take a bump and land on somebody and everything. It wasn't any like, nothing like Mr. Fuji like taking the engine out of someone's car or anything like that. But there was like, little things like that, like oh cripes, putting something in somebody's one of the gentlemen, I won't say, would use a little perfume sometimes before a match just for the courtesy of the opponent. And if people would put stuff, oh yeah, one time, and it wasn't really funny, but there was a guy that I had been trying to train in the early 90s in 93 who was just, he's passed away since, but just some people have no talent, and he just was a vacuum of talent. It was really sad, but he really wanted to wrestle, and he was, big, but he was terrible. But I got him. I thought good enough to get through one tag match. So I got him a booking, and he stunk the place up so bad. He stumbled and fell and, tripped around and everything. And then when he came back, someone had dumped an entire, in his bag, had dumped an entire container of guacamole, because guys would do that. You hear stories, shitting in somebody's bag, or, this was a little bit nicer than
Mm-hmm.
that. But I've seen guys get their bags thrown out in the back. But yeah, stuff like that, just stupid juvenile. Nobody like shaved half anybody's head or anything. There was no like Davy Boy Smith stuff going on like that. But,
Well, I heard
Bulldog.
I heard a Davy Boy Smith one.
Oh boy, yeah.
Davy Boy Smith, and the other guy is Big Bad Vader. I don't know if
Yeah.
I'd be doing this to Vader, but Davy Boy Smith, supposedly, the story goes, Davy Boy Smith pissed in the cup, took a 20cc syringe with a needle on it, and drew the 20cc of urine. He got into Big Bad Vader's bag, and Big Bad Vader had a tube of toothpaste in his bag, and he injected the urine in the tube of toothpaste to the hole. And I guess Vader used that for like 2 months. I'm like, oh my God. You guys are ruthless to each other.
That's disgusting. Oh my God.
I was like, what?
Oh my God, that's so wrong. That's hilarious.
Right. And I was like, what?
That's great.
Anyway.
Oh my God. Yeah, just that kind of stuff. I'm sure there's stuff I'm forgetting. Little things with like, losing keys and stuff like that. It was pretty benign stuff, thankfully. So.
Bill.
Your TV debut
Mm-hmm.
was Jimmy Snuka for the TV title, correct?
Yeah.
End of the
TV
tournament?
debut was, the tournament was Johnny Hotbody and me in the first round of the TV tournament. Would have been my first TV match. And then the tournament ended with Snuka and me in the final. But yeah, that whole tournament was televised.
That's awesome.
And they had other matches too.
Now,
but
how
the
did
whole
you feel
tournament
about
was-
the TV debut?
I thought it was good. We had a really good match. Johnny Hotbody was an excellent worker, in the ring back then. And, he had good heat. Again, he's another one that kind of suffered. There were so many of us that, like him and Tony Stetson were like the kings of hardcore. Some of their matches were unbelievable. And then they got toned down way too much, in ECW too. But yeah, we had a great match. I always worked really well with Johnny, and our TV match was very good. He actually gave me a hell of a, if you ever see it, he gave me a hell of a German suplex. Like I got flipped, he like turned me over. I took the bump and like took the flip bump onto my stomach. Really good match. Yeah, I enjoyed it a lot. Terry Funk did commentary on that, so that was cool to hear him, commentating on my match and stuff. So.
Congratulations on. Go ahead.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, and Terry Funk, who we lost relatively recently too. So, just pops into my head once in a while. He was a crazy man.
He was.
So what were you going to say?
PWI Top 500 for 12 straight years. Congratulations.
Oh, thanks, man.
And I think you reached 128, I think, or something like I read.
That was the high point. Yeah. And for an independent wrestler in 1998, that was pretty good. So I was up there with, thanks, man. I was up there with some like WCW guys, like I think guys like Craig Pittman, guys like that were in the same range as I was, which, considering that they were getting national TV and I wasn't, I was like highly, highly happy with that, so. But yeah, what an honor, and I was saying to Bill yesterday, back in those days, it was much more of an honor, at least, it was more of an honor than now. Everybody kind of, people are happy when they get in, but it's not held in the same esteem now. It kind of because of the internet and all kinds of other stuff. But, magazine exposure was very precious back in those days, because TV was really hard to get. And if you couldn't get TV, the next best thing was magazines, and that was hard to get. So being in the PWI 500, even if it was for that one time in the year, was awesome, because it was your name was out there, you being seen. So it meant a lot to us, back in those days. So, and I think I was ranked in it up until somewhere in the 2000s, like 05, 07, somewhere,
I think
08.
so, yeah. Yeah.
Maybe even later than that. I think it actually, I retired in 2011, so I think like 08 or 9 might have been the last time.
Right.
I'm not
Yeah.
entirely sure. But it was always cool. It
Yeah.
was always cool.
That's a great
Always an
accomplishment.
honor.
That's a great accomplishment.
Thanks, man. Thank you.
But,
I
yeah, no
always felt
problem.
like it always felt like if the magazines, because like Bill said, I grew up on, I had, what little money I earned from, my allowance or whatever, if I would get wrestling magazines. And so to me, making it was also like being in the magazines was like so cool, because I grew up in them. And,
Yeah.
then to be in them was like, holy shit. So,
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Bill?
So,
The Madman from the Badlands. Where did that gimmick come from?
actually, that came from very close friend of mine who passed away last year. My old buddy Frank. He wasn't in the business, but the name Glen Osbourne came from Johnny Hotbody. Again, Johnny Hotbody comes up. My old friend and mentor. My very first match ever, ever, ever was going to be about a minute or so. I was going to get blown away by. It was going to be me. It was a handicap match against Big Slam Vader, who used to be Crybaby, big 400-pound guy, Crybaby Waldo. And so they said, well, we need a name for you, just like for the day as a filler. So Johnny Hotbody says, oh, he kind of looks like Glen Osbourne because my hair and everything. And so they said, let's call you Glen Osbourne, and then we'll think of something. That was a place filler. We'll think of something better down the line. So, well, that kind of stuck. And then we didn't come up with anything, but I needed like a gimmick. So my friend Frank and I were driving around Northeast Philly one day, and he just came out with it. He was like, how about the Madman from the Badlands? And the alliteration. Remember, it was another time, too. This was like 1990. So, things were a little maybe sort of more, I don't know what the word I'm looking for, more sort of metal or whatever back then. So it was a cool name and I liked it. So yeah, that was it. I never came up with any of my names. I didn't come up with Osborne. I didn't come up with Madman from the Badlands. And then in 2003, I started getting called the Beast, which was given to me by another promoter, Christopher Fox, UW. So yeah, all the names I've had were all given to me. So I just ran with them because I thought they work. So why not?
I have a couple more questions, Bill, that I know that Bill wants to do a reveal, which I'm excited about. So,
Sure.
I have a couple more things.
Sure.
What led to your decision in 2011 to be done with the business?
It was strictly a physical decision. My back, not just from years and years and years of wrestling, but from years and years of very heavy weightlifting. And my back had just had it. I'd had lots of injuries over the years, a lot of neck problems, a lot of back problems. And eventually it just got to the point where my back, I was at a show over New Jersey and I just gotten done and I came out to my car and a friend of mine who wrestled a Shatter was along with me and I dumped my bag into my trunk and then I couldn't stand back up and he helped me like stand up and I was like, and he said, oh man, that's not good. And I was like, yeah, it had been getting really bad and I had wrestled on a really bad back for like almost a year. And then it just got to the point where I had to. So I gave notice that I was going to finish out because it was the way I was taught. I was going to finish out the programs that I was in. I had 2 to finish up. So I finished those up and I said to the promoters, I'm going to need a couple months off because my back's all messed up. And now it's been almost 15 years. So,
Right.
it was going to be just a short break, a relatively well, when you wrestle that much, 2 months is a long time, but it was going to be just like a 2 month break or 3 month break, and then back to it. And I just never went back because, my back just couldn't handle it anymore. And then it got really, really bad, and I was on a walker. I had to relearn how to walk, and I didn't get. I was telling Bill, different story for a different time, but yeah, I was like crippled, and I'm just now getting off of my cane. Actually, I had been, I was really bad off over COVID with injury and illness and all sorts of stuff. So it's been a long road back, but a successful one. Knock on anything. So I don't know that I'll ever get in the ring again, but um, you know, you got to think of your health first.
Absolutely, 100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
You talk about the charity work and the community service work that you do.
Yes, I spent time doing lunches with the homeless, spending time with the homeless through church, and that was incredible. And when you were saying about what you do, it made me think of that because it's a civic mindedness. I think that it's not so much of these days, but that was really uplifting work. That and working with Special Olympics, those two things are just like I I could see where people, and I've had people over the years say like, wasn't that depressing? Working with handicapped people or working with homeless people. And I said, I don't think so. I think it's one of the most uplifting things you can do. I mean, Special Olympians, if you want a lesson in positivity, look no further than that.
Right. Right.
And so many of the homeless are misrepresented because so many of them want to get back on their feet. And it's just so many people nowadays are, not that far away from homelessness. All these people have a story that I worked with, but yet they're homeless, and they all had families and success in life at some point.
Yeah.
So, but it's interesting stuff. I'd like to get back to doing the lunches again at some point.
Okay.
So, yeah, man.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for
Bill,
asking about that.
I got some questions that my kids they know they know what I do, and ask these. They say, "Hey, can we ask the wrestler something?" I said, "Sure." So I have a list. So I'm going to do the shoot questions, Bill. Then I'm going to hand it over to you, and you can do your thing. All right.
Cool.
All right, Bill.
Alrighty.
All righty.
Sounds
I call
good.
this my rapid fire style question. So, what is your favorite non-wrestling hobby?
Weightlifting.
Okay. So I drink a lot of coffee. My kids go, "Do you like coffee or energy drinks?
Coffee.
Heel or face?
Heel.
Best place you've ever eaten on the road?
Best place I've ever eaten on the road. Wow. A crab place and seafood place in Maryland, and I can't remember the name of it, so that's not of much help. But yeah, whatever that was called. That.
All right.
Oh, in South Philly, like a really authentic Italian restaurant, which again I can't remember the name of, but those two places.
So you said Italian, so do you eat pizza?
Sometimes, yeah. Sometimes if I feel like, I need all my macros, I get my carbs and, and proteins. So yeah, once in a while we'll get one.
So one of my kids says pineapple on your pizza, yay or nay?
Yay.
Okay. What's your dream opponent, past, present, or any company?
Ric Flair.
Okay. This is my favorite one. I had to ask.
Mm-hmm.
This is one of my favorite ones. Would you rather take a chair shot or would you like to step on Legos?
Oh God.
Right.
Chair shot to the back or the head? Well, they don't really do them to the back or head.
They didn't say. They wanted to know if you'd rather step on Legos or get hit by a chair.
Cripes. Probably step on Legos. Chairs hurt, that's not fun. Especially, they don't do them to the head so much anymore. They did when I was working, but getting slapped across the back with a steel chair, The Legos at least will be, you know,
Mhm.
that's not, there's not nearly the velocity involved and the impact involved. It hurts. It hurts and it's not pleasant, but a chair to the back by a large, strong man is not fun.
I've never got hit in the chair with a chair. I don't think I ever
Yeah.
wanted to, but I've stepped on
I've been
numerous
cracked in the head.
Oh, it's a bitch. That's not fun. It's not. You're like, that is that. No, not at all. But yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean,
Chairs aren't
I've stepped
the
on
worst.
Legos and
Yeah.
Lincoln Logs. I've stepped on them all.
Oh my God.
Mhm.
Matchbox cars that my grandson leaves all around the house.
Oh. Hey, you might have a new match,
I've
you know,
taken
where you
it
throw
to
some Legos down on the ring and guys will
Yeah.
step on them and stumble around, then take a chair, you know, all that. Could be something good.
I think they just did
So
that in AEW.
I think
Yeah,
so.
he did. It
He
wouldn't
did. Yeah, he
surprise.
did. So
Oh, I saw that thumbtack thing, that spot with Marina Shafir with
yeah.
the
Mhm.
thumb. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So I met Bill probably 3 months ago, I think,
Hmm.
or 2 months
Probably.
ago. We were 2 months ago, and I was just
Okay.
scrolling, and I was like, "Oh, this guy's interesting," and I messaged him. I asked him about his figures, etc., etc. And then out of the blue, I'm like, I need a co-host. I wonder if this guy seems pretty knowledgeable in the old school stuff. And I'm like, okay. So I reached out to Bill and I said, hey man, how would you like to be a co-host on a Wednesday show? And he's like, are you serious? And I'm like, yeah, you know. And so I had a video conference with him, and he showed me some of the things he does as a hobby or as a career. Is what I would say. I don't think it's a hobby; it's a career. And
He does excellent
I
work. I
agree.
was
he
like
does.
amazed.
So I was
Yeah.
like, man, let's get together, let's
Thank
do
you.
this. And
Hmm.
it's been a blessing since we started, and he's came a long ways. The first two interviews he didn't want to be on camera, so we had a little, whatever. Now he's here on camera. He's doing great things. He's stepping up, and he's even getting talent that to come on the show. So
That's
he's super
phenomenal.
every week. He's super excited about get on the show and getting this talent.
That's
And
awesome.
so, Bill, I say thank you for setting all this talent up for us, and it's been an amazing ride.
Thank you.
I say that because I want to say this. Bill has something he wants to share with us, and it revolves around our guest, Mr. Glen Osbourne. So, Bill, you take it away, man.
So I made a custom of Glen Osbourne. Oh, I don't know, probably what, a year ago.
Probably something like
I think
that.
it was about a
Yeah.
year ago, and
Hmm.
I've been talking to Glenn ever since. And I just got to thinking probably about a month ago that it needed to be updated. It wasn't scaled properly. Glenn's built like a big man. He's got the big shoulders, and I didn't have it right. So I did an updated version, and this is the first official reveal of the
Oh
updated,
my God.
fully
That
regular
is
scale
awesome.
That is
figure.
sick as hell.
Holy crap, man.
Madman
That's
from the Badland
incredible. That
with
is
the Osborne,
unbelievable. We
with
got
the
the
right
chain and
boots.
everything.
That is sick.
The
Oh
boots
yeah,
look
we got the chain, we
phenomenal.
got the tank top.
He's got
God
the
damn,
The
face
tank
paint.
top. I
The
gotta fix his torso.
face
you
paint is
nailed
Yes,
that,
we
man.
have the face paint.
that is
Oh my
We have
badass.
the
God.
face paint.
That is so cool. That is
Yeah,
badass looking, man.
it
Thank
Thank you
you.
is.
so much. That is amazing
Absolutely,
work,
thank you.
man. I was amazed all your stuff, you know, when we started talking and you were showing me that. It was amazing. And like I said, I've since sent my one buddy was perusing some of your stuff online and he was amazed by that
Hmm.
stuff. And he's gonna be, like I said, he's gonna be making a purchase. And my Swedish friend who's going to be reaching out to you soon too. But I was immediately impressed with your work and also your knowledge. I mean, you know your stuff, man. You know, I was immediately impressed with how much you knew about wrestling. So
Thank
that's
you.
cool. So yeah, it's been great, you know, coming
Thank
on
you. It
here
means
and
a lot.
everything. So
Yeah,
yeah, absolutely, absolutely, man.
man. It's been a pleasure, my friend Glenn. I'm gonna close
Oh
the
yeah.
show. I'm gonna close the show playing the music that I started
Hold
with.
on. Glenn's got one more thing.
Oh,
Hmm.
Glenn's
what do you
got
got,
one
Glenn?
more thing.
Yeah.
I believe he's got a book coming out soon.
Yes,
Oh, yes.
actually, thank you for bringing that up. I do. I've been working on it. I signed. a publisher back in February. So we've been working on it. His name's Christopher Pelton, THC Publications, and this company has just put out books on Eddie Gilbert and Gary Wolf, and they've got some coming out, some other good wrestling books coming out. Mine is in the editing phases right now. I've got a couple people working. I'm going to have 2 intros. I've just sent in a bunch of pictures. It's been a really good collaborative effort. I'm learning a lot about the publishing business I never would have known before. So I think it's probably going to be New Year's-ish. It looks like it's probably going to be sometime around then. So, we're wrapping things up. I just talked to my publisher again today. And yeah, I'm definitely going to keep everybody. I only just started telling people about it within the last couple of months because, I wanted to play it close to the vest until we got closer to things being done. So yeah, so I'll definitely keep everyone updated. Thank you, Bill, for catching that. I would have,
Yeah.
I don't know how I would have forgotten that, but again,
And where can they get? Where will they be able to get this book at?
Anywhere you buy books, you could either, Amazon or Target, or from what I understand, anywhere. You can get them online, go to the store, Barnes and Noble. They're going to be available, internationally. So yeah, anywhere you buy books.
You have a title yet?
Not yet. There's a couple tentative ones. I won't spoil it yet, but there's a couple of tentative ones that I'm probably going to go with. There are 2. I'm probably going to go with one of those 2.
Okay.
So I'm whittling it all down, and yeah, man. So I was thrilled to, again, I'm thrilled for that. So thank you for bringing that up, and I'll definitely keep everyone updated.
Absolutely.
Now, where can people see you at? Are there any conventions coming up that you're going to be at?
I'm actually going to be this Saturday down at the 1CW show in Houston, Delaware. I'm being inducted into their Hall of Fame. And then I'm trying to think after that. I feel like there's something coming up. But yeah, when the book comes out, I'm going to be just going to trying to get out to more shows just generally. And once the book comes out, I'll be going back to more conventions and stuff like that. And we'll be doing virtual signings and all that kind of stuff too.
I bet the first convention I ever went to was River City Wrestling Con over in Jacksonville, Florida. Great,
oh, cool,
great place. So I'm trying to get back over there as a vendor table.
Cool.
Bring the podcast. I want to be honest with you. I have my brother, Bill, Rudy Gonzalez.
Oh, wow.
And my boy Rico, that we're all part of the Huge Pop Entertainment team, and my goal is to either make it to the River City Wrestling Convention or something that all of us can get together. And
Sure.
I will bring my wife with me. She loves to do these things. She hates wrestling, but she loves to support me. So
that's cool.
But no, I want to get there. So maybe I don't know if you've ever come to Florida. I don't know how or what.
Well, my mother-in-law lives in Sarasota, and we're going to eventually retire there. So definitely have ties. Tons of friends. If you're involved in wrestling, you probably know about 1 million people in Florida. So
yeah, absolutely.
know lots of people there.
Yeah, I was talking to Tony
Very
about that earlier.
Huh?
Oh yeah.
So cool. But no.
Yeah,
thank you, Glenn, for coming
everybody's
on.
down in Florida.
Yeah.
Oh, everyone heads south. Yeah, if you're in wrestling, it's like you're destined to end up in Florida or somewhere down south. It's cool.
I follow promotion down here, and I follow promotion in Panhandle. I got to give these guys a shout out. XIW, Extreme Impact Wrestling. I'll throw some names out there you might know. John Saxon, Adrian Whisper.
Oh
Damian Wayne. Those guys. They run a.
Oh yeah. Oh my God. Yeah.
They run a hardcore wrestling show down here in Panama City.
Oh, cool.
They're coming up with their final show of the year in December. It's called Chaos in the Cage, where every belt is fought for in the cage. So that's a good event to go to. So.
Oh yeah, those guys. That's like, see, guys like that. That's like the backbone. Those guys are like badass backbone of wrestling kind of dudes. Yeah. That's great, man. That's good. That's wrestling.
Yeah. Their hashtag is real fight shit. And let me tell you.
Nice. That's awesome. That's awesome.
I've never seen stuff like that. It's hardcore. They on their Facebook page they reference they're the hardcore. They're the independent ECW.
That's cool.
Professional wrestling. So
that's awesome, man.
But yeah,
Good stuff.
I'm gonna play the closing song, man. I'm gonna exit it. Please don't go anywhere. I'd like to talk to you and Bill off camera. So
sure.
Hey guys, you just watched our show. We talked to Glen Osbourne of ECW and TWA.
TWA, ECW, yeah.
ECW, and what a great story. Yes. He has a bunch of stories he talked about, and Bill, man, the reveal of the new action figure. That's awesome. That was sick.
Yeah.
Man. That's great. Don't forget to check out, look for Glen Osbourne's book, and closer to New Year's, I'll definitely have to get one of those. If you stay up with Huge Pop Wrestling Entertainment, you'll know what day it is, because I'll be talking with Glen throughout over the time. I hope that's okay, Glen.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
So,
I look forward to it.
As we all say at Huge Pop Entertainment, we're for life.